Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alisha here and I'm at Pride 6. So, the story of the flight attendant began as soon as passenger in travel began in the early 1920s. The flight attendant was first called chorus, and they were the sons of businessmen who had financed the airlines. Chorus broke up to crash of the stock market in the mid 1920, with the chorus no longer employed a course education in order to reduce costs. The responsibility of seeing to the needs of passengers rested with the copilot. The copilot was required to assist the pilot in the command and as well serve food and drinks. With the improvement in passenger air travel, the airlines began to reassess the responsibilities of seeing the passenger needs. In the early 1930s, Western Air was the first to hire stewards or male helpers. The stewards were responsible for seeing to the passenger needs. Such as sleeping passenger board the aircraft, assisting with the baggage, serving refreshments, and assuring the passengers put the cigars and cigarettes out. By the late 1913, Anita Airlines being the first had hired stewardess, female helpers. Thus, stewardess were registered nurse, and the idea was the passengers would feel much safer in the hands of the stewardess. Their responsibilities include attending to those who become airsick. Back in those days, the airplanes, mostly DC-3, were very noisy and not as comfortable. Stewardess also handed out snacks to passengers. Stewardess at the time were treated poorly by the male passenger grouping, pitching and panting their butts. They were expected to work long hours, making about 1 hour and average working about 100 hours a month. Upon work, where the nurses left the airlines and joined the military, the airlines hired young women who were not nurses. The airlines, as part of their hiring practice, requiring the woman to take an oath in which they would not marry nor have children. If an attendant was to get married or have a child, the airlines would terminate their employment with the airline. But by the mid 14th, the airlines experienced a high turnover the stewardess to marry. By the 1916, the flight attendants were dressed in miniskirt and hot pants. This was a very turbulent time for the country and the airlines. Women were fighting for their rights, blacks were fighting discrimination, and males were fighting to gain passage. The airlines that women had dominated for years. As a result of the Civil Rights Act and the Equal Rights Act, blacks were able to file anti-discrimination suits, and males began breaking into the industry. Cars woke up the crash of the market in the mid 1920, with the chorus no longer employed. The responsibility of seeing to the needs of passengers rested with the copilot. The copilot was required to assist the pilot in command, as well as serve food and drinks to the passengers. With the improvement in the passenger travel, the airlines began to resist the responsibilities of seeing the passenger needs. In the early 1913, the first stewards who were hired were male helpers. They were responsible of seeing to the passengers' needs, such as helping passengers aboard the aircraft, assisting with luggage, serving correspondence, and ensuring that passengers would die with the cars of cigarettes out. By late 1913, and the airlines being the first had stewards, female helpers. These personnel were officers, nurses, and the idea was that the passengers would feel much safer in the hands of the stewards. Their responsibilities include attending to those who become sick and handing out snacks to the passengers. Now, 1913, and the airlines being the first had stewards, female helpers. These personnel were officers, nurses, and the idea was that the passengers would feel much safer in the hands of the stewards. Their responsibilities include attending to those who become sick and handing out snacks to the passengers. Now, aviation is a fast-paced, continuous growing and always changing industry. Now, flight attendants are specially trained in safety and security since the passenger safety in their main concern among other responsibilities, and that is such as 1. Conduct and assist for safety and comfort to the passengers. 2. Always conduct safety check before flight. 3. Create communicate with customers. 4. Help passengers find the seats. 5. Prepare and serve drinks and food. 6. Present and give instructions to passengers how to use emergency equipment. 7. Monitor, manage, and secure the cabin. 8. Adhere to all are specially trained in safety and security since the passenger safety in their main concern among other responsibilities, and that is such as 1. Conduct and assist for safety and comfort to the passengers. 2. Always conduct safety check before flight. 3. Create communicate with customers. 4. Help passengers find the seats. 5. Prepare and serve drinks and food. 6. Present and give instructions to passengers how to use emergency equipment. 7. Monitor, manage, and secure the cabin. 8. Adhere to all aviation rules and regulations. 9. Assist passengers and cabin crew during emergency situations. 10. Provide help to passengers with special needs or children, disabled persons, and elders. And then the last, prepare and submit reports of flight incidents. So that is now and then a brief history. So thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.